You really have to be mindful of the people that are in your circle, the people that you allow to have access to you, not only to you, but also to your heart. You have to be mindful of the people that you allow to have access to you, to your relationship, to your children, to your grandchildren. You have to be mindful not only of the people, but you also have to be mindful of what you're actually listening to. You have to be mindful of what you are allowing to come into your space. Again, the people, but also the books, also the music, also the YouTube videos, like because YouTube is a thing, right? So whether it's a regular actual book or it's an audio book, all of this stuff, you have to be mindful of all of these things that you are allowing to come into your world, because this shapes the way that you think about things, specifically yourself. Right. So if I am a person that listens to all of that rap that talks about be this, be that, this, hold that, at some point I'm going to be using that language. And at some point I'm going to believe that that's who I am, because that's what I'm feeding myself day in and day out. And every time I get in the car, or the CDs that I buy, or the music that I download, all of those things are going to impact the way that you view yourself. So you really have to be mindful of the things that you are looking at, the things that you are listening to, the people that you are allowing to come into your world. And the reason why you're doing that is because you want to create boundaries, but also if you're looking to be a part of the growth mindset, right? If you're looking to be a part of the growth mindset group, then you have to be willing to be open to other people that are not a part of that circle, people that are growing in different ways, people that may be growing in their business, people that are trying to be better parents, people that are trying to be better within themselves, people that are trying to be better in their relationships slash marriages. So you really have to start being strategic with the people, with the things that you allow to have access to you. This is how you are going to change your mindset. This is actually what working on yourself looks like. It doesn't mean that you are doing everything at one time, because most people get discouraged when that happens. When you start to um, try to change something all at one time, most people revert back to what they were doing because it was just too much. So even with losing weight, let's go there. So with losing weight, even for my own self. So for my own self, I have gained weight and lost weight, right? And when I was gun ho about my weight, it was plummeting, right? It was going down. And then I started to backslide. I started to eat all the stuff that I was not supposed to be eating until I at least got down to my healthy weight. I waited till I lost the X amount of pounds, and then I started to nibble on that stuff. Well, eventually that number started creeping back up, right? So if I wanted to for real change my weight, that means I didn't have no business creeping with the food. No business creeping with the food. So if I'm super serious about losing the weight, I got to get rid of all of the snacks, because that's my thing. I actually eat pretty healthy. I eat a lot of salads. I eat like shrimp and salmon and just the meats. I eat those, but I eat a lot of salad. So a lot of salad, and then it's a different type of meat. But it's the snacking for me. It's the snacking. So instead of me trying to just throw away all of that stuff, what I've now started to do was I'm walking more. I'm making sure that I'm doing weight training, right? I'm drinking more water, even though I'm still not 100% there on the water. I'm also starting to not eat past 7 p.m. my time. So I literally just ate before I got on this call, because I know after I get off this call, it's going to be too late for me, because I still want that number to go down. So instead of me cutting out all of those snacks, because I still like the snack, I just have a window of time where I eat. Previously, what I did was I started replacing one meal with a protein shake. And I did that for a long period of time, right? So incrementally, that works for me. Cold turkey works for some people. It doesn't work for me. And I know that. And I'm okay with that. So surrounding yourself with positive people, surrounding your environment with positive things that you want to make sure that you are, how it's going to impact your life in a better way. So the third part of that is this mindset. You have to embrace change. There are so many people out there that do not like change for whatever reason. This could be changing your career. It literally could be changing your friends. It could be changing to a new area, like moving to a new area. It's a lot of things that really frighten people in this change because it's the fear of the unknown. We don't know what's on the other side of this thing that we call change. We don't know what's on the other side of it. And so when you don't know what's on the other side of something, you have an issue with it. And so a lot of people are fearful about, say, a change. The second thing that is impacting you when you're not working on yourself is your perspective. Your perspective may just be tainted. What do I mean by that? Because of the way that you grew up, you and I, us people, we start to view the world through just that perspective. When you stop to think about this, it actually helps you to understand situations from others' positions. It also is how you view the world, as I mentioned, how your experiences are shaping how you connect, not only with yourself, but also within your relationships. And this is not only in your romantic relationship. This is not only in your relationship with yourself. This is also in the relationship with your children, the relationship with your sibling, the relationship with your parent, the relationship with your guardians, the relationship with your coworkers. So we may view certain things about certain people that are outside of our world differently and think that they are wrong because of that. But this is also because you have not opened up your mind to another person's position and where they stand in the world and how they even view the world and how they show up in the world. Because from our perspective, we think that it's all right. We think that it's all right because this is how we grew up. This is what I'm used to. This is what I know. And so anything that comes from the unknown, again, it scares people. Anything that comes from the unknown scares people. So thinking about your perspective, though, one of the things is to try not to be so hard on yourself. If you feel that you have gotten something wrong, own own it. Take responsibility for you getting it wrong. It's okay to get it wrong because that is helping to shape you into a different person. It's also helping you to become more aware of how you're showing up and the things that are happening within your life and within your surroundings. So it's helping you become more aware. You have to start appreciating what you have. Like this one, it actually hurts a lot of people because we're so busy looking at what somebody else has or looking at the type of relationship that somebody else has, looking at the type of marriage that somebody else has, that we're forgetting what we already have. So I was listening to these two gentlemen converse about their relationships. And the one, excuse me, it was two women. I said men. It was two women. And the one woman was basically sharing how her husband, he's very gentleman-like, if you will. He's very chivalrous. He still opens up doors, pulls out her chair, make sure that he puts on his jacket on her if she's cold. And so the other person was listening to all of this stuff that she heard the other husband was doing. And unfortunately, instead of her tending to her own garden and seeing what she actually has already, what her husband is bringing to the table, she immediately went back to her husband, was like, how come you are not like him? That is not going to make him be like the other man. Even if he wants to be like the other man, he's not going to do it because of the way that you spoke about it, the way that you confronted him. It wasn't in love. You didn't wait for the right time. You didn't wait till you calmed down, but you also didn't praise him for what he was already bringing to the table. And so when we do that, we lose focus. We stop appreciating what we already have because we're so busy looking at what other people have. So we have to stop doing that. This is how you're going to shape your perspective. This is how you're going to hear your own thoughts and continue to be able to stand firm on your beliefs about your relationship, about yourself, about your spouse. When somebody's bringing something to you that you could possibly be envious of, literally congratulate them on it. That's awesome and wonderful. And if it's something that you want to try or incorporate into your own relationship, then have a conversation with your spouse. Because the truth of the matter is, just because you want that thing doesn't mean that your spouse is going to automatically give it to you. That might be something that they despise and automatically just shut down, like, absolutely not. This is not something that I'm doing. But you don't know that because you have not given your spouse the opportunity or the chance to see if this is something that he really wants to participate in and be a part of in order to show love the way that you want to receive it. So appreciate what you have. Another way that your perspective is being tainted is when we are comparing ourselves to others, when we are comparing our relationship to others, when we are, which is exactly what the woman was doing, right? That's exactly what she was doing. She was in comparison mode, which was why it was going down in a bad way for her own marriage and why it wasn't received well from her husband, right? Wasn't received well. So we have to stop comparing ourselves to other people because comparison, I like to say, and I've heard before, comparison is the thief of all joy. We're not meant to be here to compare ourselves because God made us all beautiful in his image. But it is time for you to have a conversation to see if that is something that your spouse wants to do. And here's the thing, you might not even be comparing your relationship. You might be comparing you to another woman or you to your cousin, you to whomever, fill in the blank. So it might not even be that you're comparing the relationship or comparing the marriages. You might even be comparing yourself. I should be further along. I should have X amount of real estate. My bank account should be, I should have and be driving this type of car. I should have a house that's this big in this neighborhood with that pool, etc. Right? So instead of comparing yourself, embrace exactly what is happening and where you are at in your life. Because again, you have control of where you're at in your life. You have control of how things are unfolding in your life. You have control over all of that stuff. It's just a matter of what you are willing to do in order to get the relationship that you want. How much action are you willing to take in order to get the relationship that you want? And then the final thing about perspective is to be present in the moment. A lot of us are in the past or we're looking in the future, but we're forgetting about today. We're forgetting about this moment. And before you know it, this moment is gone. This breath is gone. So be present in the moment. Literally put your phone down, put your electronics down, cut the TV off, sit in silence, reflect. Right? I created a reel the other day about reflecting and reflection and how we're showing up and questions that you can ask. Search for the reel. I literally just put a reel out about self-reflecting, self-reflection. And I put 4 questions on there because we have to take time to just reflect and be in the present moment. And just to connect comparison, one of the ways that you can get rid of your comparison spirit, if you will, is to focus on what you are grateful for. So when you start to get in the comparison mindset, take out your phone, take out a piece of pen and paper, and write down 5 things that you are grateful for about you, especially when you are comparing yourself to somebody else. If you start to compare your relationship to somebody else, write down 5 things that you are grateful for in your own relationship. If you are comparing the car that you have, write down 5 things that you love about the car that you have. If you are comparing the house or the neighborhood that you are in to somebody else's, write down 5 things about the neighborhood that you are actually in. So you can be present in the moment, but also God is not going to give you more when you cannot take care of what you already have. You have to be willing to take some action. It may take you longer, and truth be told, it usually does take you longer to get to where you want to be than what you believed it was going to take. But that's okay, because as long as you keep one day at a time, one thing at a time, continuously moving forward, then you will get there. And before you know it, you look back on your life 1 year, 2 years, 5 years down the road, and you're like, whoa, I'm completely different, but in a great way. My life is completely different. The way that I'm showing up in this world is completely different. And it's a beautiful thing. But we have to be aware of our perspective of the world. It's not just how you are viewing things. Just because you're viewing them that way does not mean it's the correct way. The third thing that is stopping you or impacting you when you're not working on yourself is how you're showing up in the world. Now, why does this matter? It matters because making the commitment to become the best version of yourself is one of the most important things that you can do for yourself. It's one of the most impactful things that you can do for yourself because it's making you more aware of who you are. It's making you more aware of how, when you walk in the room, do you cower down? Do you walk in but stand in the corner and quiet? Do you walk in and everybody knows who you are? Do you walk in and people turn their backs, see you coming, and automatically the crowd that was there, they see you coming and everybody disperses? That's you becoming more aware of yourself, but then also realizing that you still even have control over that. You still have control over the opinion that people have of you. You do. The thing about it is that in order for their opinion to change about you, it's going to take a little bit of time. A little bit of time, because now you have to start showing up every single day, every single moment different. So if you were a person that walked into the room and you were very judgmental and you literally didn't have no filter over this thing and you would just give it to everybody in any kind of way, don't matter about their feelings, that will be your reputation for a while. But now you start showing up differently, and now you start adding value to people's life. You start adding value to the things, to the conversations. Eventually, what they think about you and what they've been saying about you will be completely different, because now you will have stacked so much value on them in the room that all of that other stuff, the person that you used to be, is literally in the past. But not only in the past for you, it's in the past for others as well. But it's just a matter of how consistent you are and how much you are willing to put into this in order to change your world. When we do not, when we are not, I should say, when we are not aware of how we are showing up to the world, there is no way. There is no way that you will commit to becoming your best self every single day. So, one of the ways to become your best self, one of the ways to show up in a more positive light day in and day out, is to acknowledge and honor your feelings. See, we talked about feelings when it came to mindset. Feelings are all in this. But a lot of times we don't even acknowledge our feelings. We suppress them and push them down, and we allow somebody else to have the front row seat, or we're just like, oh, it's not important. Yeah, your feelings matter. You feel them for a reason. Now express them, get them out. And especially if it's with your significant other. You should not feel like you cannot vent to your spouse. That should be a part of your support system. They should want to hear what's going on with you, like really deep seated, what's going on with you. Why are you tossing and turning at night? Why are you pulling away? Why are you coming to bed later and later? Why are you crying? I see you getting up, going to the bathroom crying. I noticed that you've done this a couple nights in a row. What's going on with you? Where they're becoming aware of you, but you have to acknowledge your feelings. You have to be the first one to acknowledge that they are even there. Because when we're tossing and turning and we're not sleeping well, that is one of the first things and the first ways that your anxiety is starting to show up. Now, absolutely could be other things as well, but that's when you know that your life is out of alignment. Your sleep is one of the first things that go, because you're so worried, your mind is continuously moving instead of it slowing down so your brain can do cleanse itself while you're sleeping and your body can heal itself while you're sleeping. It's not doing the job that it can do because your brain has not shut off. So acknowledge your feelings, get that stuff out. And this is a side note because a lot of people don't realize with cancer, cancer comes a lot of times from us holding on to things in our body. And there are specific areas that cancer come in depending on what you're holding in your body. And I don't have time to go through all the areas, but you can look them up yourself. Breast cancer is a certain thing. Stomach cancer is a certain thing. Colon cancer is a certain thing. All of these things come from you holding this toxicity in your life. You have to release this stuff. You have to release this stuff because if you don't find a way to release it, your body will find a way to release it. And when your body finds a way to release it, you're not going to like what it does to release said thing that is literally killing you. I remember when I was in my first marriage. So some of you may not know, I did get a divorce. When I was in my first marriage, I remember I was always sick. Always sick. And I was like, I was never a sickly child. Like, why am I always sick? Like, I would literally go from one cold, be cool for about a week, hick 'em another cold, be cool for about a couple days, hick 'em another cold. I was in and out of cold all the time. And then, and I knew that something was wrong, but I didn't realize that the two were connected. Didn't know that they were connected. I just knew I was sick and then I wasn't. So, long story short, I got a divorce. My life completely changed. All of the sickness just dissipated. But all that anxiety went away too. All that stress went away too. The nights I was up looking in the window because wasn't coming home at night and I'm watching the sun come up instead of sleep next to you while the sun is coming up, or us watching the sun come up together. I'm in the window trying to see if you out in the parking lot. Like, why am I doing that? Why? Mm-mm. It's not what I should be doing. I shouldn't be I shouldn't be checking my phone at night when you should be next to me. Too much for me. So the point of that is after I got a divorce and I was released from all of that stress and anxiety, the sickness went away. It went away. Just like it had never been there. And then years later, I read a book, something article, I can't even remember at this point, but then there is a correlation between how much you are sick with the relationship that you are in. I see you, Don. I see you. I didn't know that that was a thing. Also, I'm talking about when I was in my 20s. I'm also just going to reveal that there were no real talks about relationships in my household, which is why I decided to talk about relationships so much. Because if I can stop you from getting a divorce, or even if you've gotten a divorce before, but you really want to get your life together, get your new relationship together, so we can stop going down this road. This is why I started this, because I didn't get the tips, tools, or strategies myself. And so instead of me continuously going down that road in our community, I want to help us to break this generational curse, because we have started from behind. We know why. We already know our history and our ancestors and picking cotton and being sold. We know all of that. But now it's time for us to stand up. It's time for us to take back control over our lives by getting the education. One of the best things that I've ever done in order to fast track my life was to get a mentor, was to get a coach, was to show up. And so I want to answer one of the questions. She's not here. Oh, let me see. I have something in the chat. Don might have put something there that I didn't realize. Before I answer that question, let's see. Yes, Don, I had to get the heck out. I had to get the heck out, and that's what I did. Um, Nicole, if you're watching this on the replay, you asked me basically, essentially, what can you do when you have not started working on yourself? What can you do to start working on yourself so you can start pulling yourself out of this hole? One of the things that you can do, and this is actually where I started reading books about men specifically. I took courses about men specifically, like the things that they wanted, the things that they were looking for, how they choose a wife. I don't even know if this course is still around. At this point, I really can't even remember the name of it, but I know that I took a course about men. And because I felt like, why? I'm a pretty good person. Pretty good person. I don't really come with a lot of baggage or a lot of drama. So how come I couldn't stay in a relationship? Like, what was actually happening? And I had to figure out that I was the only common denominator. And that's what you have to realize too. You are the only common denominator in all the relationships that you have been in. The only common denominator, right? So when things are not going right, there is a part that you are playing, whether you realize that or not. You are playing a part in why your relationship is going down here. So when I realized that, I had to start asking myself some tough questions. And I had to say, Marshawn, you got to get some answers. And so what I actually did, I waited until my ex was to contact me, because we know how that happens. So I wait for them to contact me. And when they would, I would ask to meet them. And when I would meet them, after we got over the pleasantries, because I had a different reason for meeting them than maybe they did. My reasoning was for me to collect information. I was collecting data. I wanted to know what was so bad about me that made us not go to the next level. And when they gave me the answer, I would start to work on that thing. And so the next time I went on a date, not with that person that gave me the information, because I don't backtrack. So when I went out on the next date, I would do this thing better. And maybe we would have 2 or 3 dates, but something would happen and it wouldn't work out. But I was like, okay, you did that. Perfect. Okay, I heard you too clingy. All right, let me back up. I'm not always on the phone trying to call you, text you, trying to see where you at and all that stuff. Let me back up. So I would literally just take one piece of information. I'm going to work on that. Next piece of information, I'm going to work on that. Next piece of information, I'm going to work. And I just started doing that. But all of that literally stemmed from me taking a course. Books. I am an avid reader anyway. So anything relationship related, books. I also read psychology books, because psychology tells you about the person, the way that they show up in the world, the way that they think about things, the way that they process, right? And I wanted to know what that was like, specifically for men, people in general, but specifically for men. I also talked to mentors, right? I went to a couple therapists as well. So I actually didn't even know that coaching was a thing. When I was starting to work, I didn't even know that coaching was a thing. I didn't realize that coaching could fast track. So this coaching that that I actually am, I didn't even know that this was a thing back in the day. But coaching can help to fast track you. And coaching and therapy are different. I'm not going to go into that today, but they are different. They don't give you the same things. And a lot of times when my clients are working with me, they may actually have a therapist on the side and then coaching with me, because we focus on 2 different things. So there's coaching, there's therapy, there's digital courses, I'm sure there are probably still CD programs, but then there are also books, whether they're open, real books, or they're audio books. And let's be real, YouTube has a lot of audio books on there. So if you want to fast track your life, if you want somebody that's going to hold you accountable, so you're not like, okay, I'm going to take this program, but it's not focused on me and where I want to go, reach out to me. I can absolutely help you because yes, I have programs, but they are not cookie cutter. I literally work with you on where you're at and what you actually need. Right? So these three areas are how you up level your life, but they're also the same three areas that are impacting you with because you're not working on yourself. So we have the mindset, we have your viewpoint, which is your perspective on life, and then how you are showing up in the world.